So, Patrick and I have decided today to record one of our wide-ranging, who knows where we're going conversations. And we hope you enjoy it. And yeah, so Patrick, let's go. Where are we going?
That is an excellent question. Where are we going? And I feel like this is a question that I'm asking myself more and more every day.
And getting
Yeah,
any answers? A
not really.
little bit of that. See?
Yeah, that's the vibe. Well, and we were just talking before you pressed the record button about our this funny disconnect between our brains or maybe even our bodies and the truth. And how we can know something, but yet also sit in this state where internally we don't seem to know it, that there's
Yep.
some sort of resistance to the truth, which I think is fascinating. And it's been on my mind a little bit recently because I just had the other day this awareness, and it's not a new awareness, but sometimes like you hear something multiple times, and then eventually it just the right thing goes in at the right time,
Yeah.
and then just boop, like you have an experience.
Yeah.
So I really, really felt myself as this spiritual being, this essence that has come here into human form. And I felt both this eternal presence that is me, that exists always. And then I also felt how it came into this human body whose name is Patrick, who has parents. And this human body has ancestors and it has things that
Mhm.
it has experienced or that it is holding that other people have experienced over
Mhm.
generations, centuries, like thousands and thousands of years. Humans have had a lot of history. Humans have been through a lot. And there's been a lot of historical resistance to these higher virtues, right? Like freedom, abundance,
Mhm.
worthiness. So I just noticed that like my body and my brain as part of my body will hold some of that resistance, even though I know the spiritual truth that, well, of course I'm abundant, and of course I'm
Mhm.
free, and of course I'm
Mhm.
powerful.
Mhm. You remind me of I do almost six mornings a week. I do yoga or Pilates on YouTube, and I found this woman who I really like, and her channel is Body Illumination. So no surprise that I clumped onto her. But she always starts with the little affirmation at the beginning, and it's really interesting because when she says it in my head. You know what? The thing I have with affirmations is like it always sounds like you're hoping to get it. Like,
Mhm.
I am powerful. I hope maybe, and when she says I am powerful, I'm always like, yeah. Like I get that disconnect how the brain says, oh yes, that's a good thing. I really should probably repeat that and in some way entrench it into my consciousness. And the rest of me says, well, of course, we're already there. So I know what you mean about that disconnect. And also something I think about quite frequently, and not a lot of people talk about this. What you just said about like your holding or having experiences that have been yours and your ancestors and so forth. That's your DNA, that's your physical makeup.
Mhm.
Not a lot of people talk about what about your DNA and the whole batch of people behind all your other selves, right? Like it kind
Yeah.
of it is a web. And so I find it really interesting when people get really stuck in well, my ancestors and in the past, my people were persecuted or this, that, and the other thing happened. I'm like, well, that's just this line. What about all the other? It's like, and then you go into it and then you go, well, wait a minute. It's this kind of a construct that we've come up with as a way to give our logical brains that just love order a way to like compare and judge. Because
Mm.
we were talking the other day about the hierarchy of angelic beings and how we were saying linearity, not so much. It's something that we've made up. Like this type of angel is more powerful than this one and this one and this one. We do the same thing with the DNA, ancestry, you know. So this is all I'm saying is I find it really interesting when I find these constructs that everyone just takes for granted because no one sits and says, Wait a minute. How, what?
Does this have to be true?
Or is it even? I mean, truth can
Mhm.
be, it's so flexible. It could be whatever you want,
Yeah,
right?
it can be whatever you want. And then,
So, yeah.
yeah. So it strikes me I had a really cool experience of doing a family constellation for a client. And in this, when I put angels into the constellation, I saw that the way that the family members were oriented completely shifted. So I put four angels around the constellation, and then all of a sudden, all of the family members were just facing each other, and they were just seeing each other and being seen. And it felt
Mhm.
very, very equal, and it felt very beautiful. And this is that the world where we're going to. It's the truth of the world, certainly on a spiritual level, we're all just seeing and being seen. This is just what's happening.
Mm.
But then, as soon as I took the angels away, because I noticed I was like, well, something about this doesn't feel complete and it's not embodied from this place. It couldn't be embodied from that place. In order for it to be embodied, I had to take the angels away. And then the family members all fell into this line, going from the ancestor down to the youngest. And that was what felt right once the angels weren't there. And that's what actually allowed for it to be embodied as a change, as opposed to standing up here in this level of awareness. So I just thought that was such a cool experience to notice. Like both of these alignments are accurate and they're offering us different things, but maybe it's this experience of duality we have. And maybe it's even different levels of consciousness. I'm sometimes aware that, I'm always aware that there's different kinds of consciousness. And one of those kinds of consciousness, which is atomic consciousness, which wouldn't be present so much with spirit. Spirit is light,
Yeah.
spirit is
Yeah.
ether, spirit is plasma. There's no atoms
Yeah.
in spirit in the same way. But our physical beings are made of atoms, and atoms move through space and time.
Mhm.
Atoms are there, it's local awareness versus non-local awareness, the spirit which doesn't move through space and time. It exists outside of that.
Mhm.
So I was really struck by how those two come together and how in this place where we move through space and time, like my body has had this experience of moving through space and time. And the space and time is not just the space and time that I move through, but also the space and time that all of the things that my body is made of have moved through, which goes back and back and back and back and back and back.
Hmm. Hmm. So I really like what you just said about the reconfiguring of the energy that you did during the constellation, which, by the way, I didn't know you do family
You know
constellation.
what? I didn't either until I did
Yeah, yeah. It's like
it.
it's like the time I did the Akashic reading. It's like, oh, okay, I did these too.
Uh-huh.
Um, but what was interesting is that when you pulled out the angelic or higher frequency, the human frequency set itself in a line. So, I mean, when you think about it, if it was at all possible to only be human, we would have to only work with the tools we have, which are the brain and the energies that come through the DNA. So, it makes sense that you would just line up.
Hmm.
And but also it shows how deeply ingrained our concept of the older person has to be over here, the younger person has to be over here, like the ancestor has to be way back there. Like, why couldn't an ancient ancestor, great great grandmother, be sandwiched between the granddaughter and like, we're so stuck in this concept that this one comes before this one comes before this one. So yeah, just that's really interesting experience. And the people now, if I understand with family constellation, there's one person who this is being done for, but
Exactly.
they're watching, they're not participating, right?
Well, in this case, it was doing the individual. So we had crystals that were representing the family members. And
Okay.
with
So you didn't
feedback
have
and
people.
participation of the person who was there. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Um, I was just wondering how it was for them if they had more insight or more awareness when you brought the angelic energies in, even though it wasn't embodied. Do you think they had more clarity?
Yeah, well, we talked about this person has had a long relationship with a divine family and really having that appreciation of the divine family that always holds us, and then the human family that's sitting with us here in form, and how disconnected, or how, I don't even want to say disconnected, but how separate those experiences can be. That we can have this divine family, which would include, direct access to our great 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 grandparents, or
Hmm.
really to
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
who's connected with us in some meaningful way. And then also, I've never met my great great grandmother in
Yeah.
human form because she was dead before I was born.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
also, what is the household that we grew up in, and maybe it's that recognition of all of that all of that is snowballing forward. Like it's sort of moving. There's a momentum that's happening from great grandmother, but it rolls forward through the
Hmm.
generations in order to
Hmm.
reach me in physical form because it's moving through time and space.
Hmm.
So I think there is something essential about that difference of things that move through time and space, which inherently bring that linear order, or that perception of
Hmm.
linear order, because something happens before something else. Of course, we know everything is happening at the same time always, and we know that what we're doing now can influence the past, which is why the whole point of family constellations is is a worthy exercise, because
Yeah.
what you are doing right now is influencing the way that things are passed from the, past forward to the future as we
Hmm.
experience it. So, the love that your great grandmother had to give that you didn't get to receive because it didn't pass through, like you
Mm.
actually get to put things in line so that you get it, so that you can receive it.
Yeah, I like that. I just think about, okay, so I know that I had a past life in which I was alive, and my mother in this round was also alive at the same time.
Mm.
So now how does that one work? Because when I think about, see, this is, I understand time and space and the linearity, and this happens, like there's a progression. But on the other hand, does it? Like, I mean, I find it kind of amusing when I open Instagram and there's a post that says, quantum physicists have just realized that there's such a thing as bilocality, non-locality. And I'm just like, they're just figuring this out now. So some of it, I think, is a lot of things were, we know this, codified or set aside or demonized or hidden. And I think every single thing that was put off in the, don't do this sort of pile, were the things that we are using regularly now. And I often think, we know our other lives, we weren't able to do that openly, like the kind of things that we just casually talk about. There's no way we would have openly shared some of this, even 50 years ago.
Oh, I know. How many times have you been burned at the stake, right? I mean, I
Well,
think.
yeah, yeah, I wrote a post about that. And I was like, what did I call it? Hung, burned, burnt, and buried. No, hung, burned, drowned, and buried, because it's been done. And the thing is, I have this feeling that almost everybody at some point in some life has been done in at some point, because we have so many lives. So anybody who says, "Oh no, like I've never been a seer or a witch or worked with divination," I don't know about that. I think that it has happened, and perhaps some people just had an experience. They were like, "I'm never doing that again." And then there are those of us who just keep doing, keep coming back to, stepping up again and doing it. But each time I think it's different. I think that we have another layer. And like, I do think it's funny sometimes. I was visiting with a friend and I said something about, oh yeah, well, when I was burnt at the stake or whatever. And she just looked at me. She goes, yeah, it's like not a lot of people would, first of all, be able to say it casually. I couldn't in the beginning when I first started coming into this awareness that, like, this wasn't my only life. Well, I knew it, but I just didn't have a word for it until I was like in my late teens. And then you start going through this whole period of like, oh my God, what did these people do to me? How
Mhm.
was I traumatized? And I sometimes wonder, the people now who are deep in what they perceive as trauma in this current life, I sometimes wonder if they're having that as an echo from having had experiences in the past and they didn't work through them in that, like, how do I, okay. Like, let's say at some point you were burned at the stake and you've never come to terms with the fact of why and how it happened. So then you bring up something else, not as gruesome, but something else happens in this life.
Mhm.
And then they're working through this, like you were just saying, and that helps the awareness to
Yeah.
to come to terms with that other experience
Absolutely. I mean, I guess you could get canceled in this lifetime. That's probably not too dissimilar from being burned at the stake.
or excommunicated. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how I see it is there's those different levels of consciousness that we're working on, and there's our bodies, which are again this atomic consciousness structure. And then there's also the consciousness of the light, and it's the patterning of the light. So when I look at past lives or past life experiences, I look at the patterns of light, and those patterns can be
Mhm.
shaped by experiences that are had. So if there's something that isn't integrated or awareness isn't brought to it in some way, that light can get almost kind of like pushed into moving into a particular pattern that
Mhm.
then as it comes in to animate the body, because the life is an animating force, it also has an impact on the body. These two things are related to one another. It can bring forward into physical manifestation or experiential manifestation things that
Mhm.
are present in its own pattern. So I noticed that too, that there's different ways in which we're clearing or different ways in which we're operating, some of which are more those physical things, and some of which are more those, kind of greater spiritual light patterning things.
All right, so now give me an example of how you perceive one of these patterns. Is it
How am I perceiving?
color? Is it light and shadow? Is it geometric shapes? Like, what are you getting?
It more looks to me like, mm, to be honest, it looks like a dim spot would be how I would
Yeah,
describe it.
yeah, yeah.
And when that dim spot, it's like almost like the dim spot doesn't allow for that light to flow into this particular area. And I'm focusing here on my left shoulder because I remember I had left shoulder pain at one point, and then I had this experience of remembering like having a spear going into my shoulder in this really kind of terrible, painful way. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh wow, like no wonder this is always where the tension is going or where the pain is going.
Yeah.
And then as I was able to bring awareness to that, bring loving awareness to that, the pattern has been in some way disrupted, or the light is now allowed to flow there in some way.
Mhm.
So that's how I experience it, is more like, okay, like it's not like the pattern itself is permanently distorted or disrupted or taken out of alignment. I guess nothing can ever really be taken out of alignment in a true sense, because
No.
you're always in alignment with life. You're just having your experience of
Yeah.
it. But it's like that more full expression of you, that more vital expression of you, that more free flowing energy circulating
Hmm.
version of you, that's what comes to the forefront. Because I really think when we're thinking about bodies or spirit, health is circulation. So
Hmm.
if there's an area in your life where you've suffered some sort of trauma, again, suffering trauma, I don't know that I need to use those words, but they
No.
communicate what the
Yeah.
experience is, right?
Yeah.
If you've had an experience that in some way mm, maybe brings you to choose not to circulate light to that area. And I think
Uh,
that's eventually what it would be. It would be
yeah.
my choice, right? Of like,
Yep.
okay, I have experienced pain. I've experienced something here that I don't like to experience. So I'm withdrawing my awareness from it. I'm
Hmm.
withdrawing my light from it. So
Hmm.
then as I move into that next incarnation or next version of myself, well, I've withdrawn that awareness from my left shoulder because I had a really painful experience there. So now when I come in, that area isn't being filled with that same vitality as the rest of my body is, because it's like it's not a safe spot.
Hmm. Yep. I've had a spear. I was
Have you?
just
Where was your spear?
I'm thinking like, where was it? Oh, right here,
Oh,
right
ooh.
through. Yeah, yeah. One of what I think is really interesting is that is how I see um, places where energy isn't flowing as well. In that, but okay, I got cats, and I say it's like a hairball. Okay, like all the energy is all matted up, And so it's so dense and it's so slow that yes, there's still light. It is everything's light, except that the light is so dim because it's just moving so slowly. And the slower light moves, the more physical it is, because
Mhm.
we really are just slowed down light, right? So if you think about that and you think about the shoulder and being dim, what the sort of analogy or the vision I give people to work with is like, okay, pretend you're just slowly sort of teasing this area apart so more light can move in there and also pass through. And it's quite amazing what you can do when people look at it in a different way. Like it's not something coming at me. It's not a punishment. It's just like you said, like you've created these sort of operating instructions for yourself. And one of them is, yeah, like when people say, "Oh, I have weak knees," or "I always have stomach problems." Well, no, you're choosing, subconsciously, probably very deeply, but you still have that choice of how you're running the body. So I think that's really interesting. Also, the concept of pulling, this is something I've been playing with a lot, is we have sort of been socialized. I mean, maybe not society as a whole, but those of us who are in this sort of world and working in the spiritual realms, we have a vernacular that's kind of normal. And one of them is, yeah, you got to clear stuff. You're going to drag stuff with you from incarnation to incarnation. And we go, okay, and you can spend your whole life trying to clear them. What I'm finding is every single time that I would clear something, something else would bubble up. And another life experience from some other life, like another hanging, drowning, whatever you want to call it. So now I'm looking at it going, okay, clearing has an underlying sensations, underlying energy that there's something bad and there's something dirty and there's something you don't want. So now I'm looking at it more like, okay, instead of clearing, it's more like what you said, bring my attention to whatever the thing is. Usually it's a physical thing. And then there's a curiosity level. And then there's, yeah, an awareness of what happened. And then there's this dissolution of either guilt or shame or anger or anything that I might have attached to it, whatever lifetime that was. And that's been very powerful for dissolving these sort of tight places in my system.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can see that. And I think
uh,
there can be something that comes in with this idea of clearing where it can fall into this I'm impure
Yep.
and I need to purge myself and I need to
Mhm.
continually purge myself. And even the terror of, oh my God, there's dense pockets of energy or things that are
Yep.
sitting in here within me.
Yep.
So I'm aware of that too. I almost like it more as a noun, clarity, like being in a state of clarity. It sounds wonderful to be in a state of clarity.
Yes.
So what's it like to assert I am in a state of clarity and I am bringing the state of clarity into other parts of my body?
Yes.
My overall energy and awareness is one of clarity, and in my
Yes.
left shoulder, it's not having an experience of clarity right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do I offer it a greater experience of clarity? So rather than the purging, when I
Hmm.
think about clearing now, it's rather than the purging, it's much more about bringing something into that natural state of clarity with which it functions best. And to me,
Yep.
again, that clarity is it so much of it, I just keep getting the word circulation. It's
Yep.
just things being in free and fluid circulation.
Hmm. Freedom. I mean, freedom in the ultimate sense, not freedom from something you don't like, which is what most people use it. Like, I'm going to have freedom from pain. I'm going to have freedom from whatever. To me, that is again, it's something where we've come to this idea that, oh, I have to get away to get what the thing I want, as opposed to it's there. And are you going to choose to experience it? Are you going to choose to experience free flowing circulation in your system? And that's like we were talking about the brain. Our brains are so good at playing all these games of like, oh, I'm so stuck. And it's like, no, we're not. It's just we're telling ourselves we are. And so many reasons to say it. I mean, we're surrounded by people who live in that awareness that things are hard and we gotta, we gotta, oh, when people say, oh, we're killing it today, I'm like, no, thank
Don't
you.
kill it.
That's not how I want to start my day. I tell you right now. But people don't realize the value of the energy, the power of their words, for example. And and just general, even the words that are ostensibly, light, love, and peace, like the clearing, like you know, the detox. They say it like it's a good word, and yet it still has that underlying feeling like there's something toxic in your system. Nothing's
Mhm.
toxic unless you choose it to be. So it's there's so many levels. Like there's the I was writing this morning. It was really interesting. I was thinking, okay, at what point do my other lives intersect with this one? And I know there are many, I've had little glimpses and so forth, but what's the point? Like, why is this coming into my awareness? I'm choosing it for some reason, so it must be adding something to my life. So I was like, so what am I getting from it? Like, what is it offering me? And that's like, you could play with that your whole, it doesn't make sense to say, but you could play with this entire incarnation, I guess, of what lives are going to offer what. And
Yeah, it's endless. I mean, it
yeah,
is, it
yeah.
just spirals out in every
Yeah.
possible way. And if you think about how we were talking a few minutes ago about how your body is not just an experience of you and you in
Mhm.
this lifetime and the family that you've had where you grew up, the ancestors, but also it's all of these different versions of you and then all of their ancestors, like and all of the
Mhm.
people. So if you think about yourself, someone recently said to me, you're like a group project. I just thought that is such a wonderful way to think about it.
That's
You know,
it. It's like anyone who thinks they're all alone doing their stuff by themselves, no. It's just
no,
like this.
absolutely
It's
not. It extends in every direction, and it
a
is
group
infinite.
project.
You know, I have that awareness too, even looking at one birth chart. Like you could look at one birth chart and study it for the rest of your life. There are so many fascinating things. You can add in asteroids. There are like hundreds of different techniques that you can use. Every single one of them will give you more unique
Yep.
insight.
Yep.
And even looking outside astrology, if you look to human design or if you look to the Akashic records, you look to intuitive readings, there's so many different ways to get more insight into who you are, which
Yep.
is, truly delightful and also it is unending.
Yeah, and you have to come to a place where you realize how much you are going to focus on getting this new information and how much are you going to do something with it. Because I find I know people who are constantly getting another reading. They're going to see a different practitioner. There's oh, what was it? Somebody just did one. What did she do? I don't know. It was something new and wonderful, And I said, "Oh, so what did you get? Like, what was the information?" Well, they said this, that, and the other thing. And I don't want to say, the last three people you went to said that too. Like, like at some point, you got to do your own work and choose why you're going to see someone. Like, I understand why someone would come to you for an astrological reading for many reasons, but also there's just a level of, oh, if he says it, because they already know it, but if you say it, it's real. Because you're the expert, you're the professional. I'm paying you. You're going to say blah blah about my life. I'm going to, I knew it. And I just think it's really interesting if you could come into a reading with when you say something, it's not like, oh, he said it, so now it's real. It's more of a, oh, okay, now let's play and then go into the depths of it. Into, like you said, you could read from all these different angles. I would love to see more people come come to us with that mindset of, oh, I already know things in myself and I trust what I know. And now I want to play and go further.
Yeah, I mean, those are
Yeah.
the things that I love the most about getting to work with people is really having an experience of change in the moment
Yes.
rather than just let me tell you about yourself. But really, let's actually help you move into a more creative, more free, more open, more expressive version
Yep.
of you. And let's do it right now. There's you don't need to take this away and integrate. And sure, there will be insight that will, take a
Mm,
while to land, or you may like being able to revisit it and see it. I sometimes find that's helpful too. It's like a
mm,
reminder point of like, okay, this was a big moment for me. I saw
mm.
myself in a new way. That's great. And also, what's even better is let's just change now. Let's just adjust the perspective now.
And when you were saying that, it sort of twigged something in that, as I was saying, like when someone comes and they're looking for your authority, for example, to say that they're what they already knew about themselves was is true. But I wonder if you being able to say, like, see something in their chart and they didn't tell you yet, and you see it, I wonder if that works to help the logical brain loosen its grip a little bit. And, maybe that's the level of change that has to happen in some instances so that you can go to this next level and own experience, embody the new energy and play at the higher frequency. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've always wondered, like, I know some women, I know some people who are really, really tuned in, but they still keep going to get readings. And I've always wondered, why are they doing that? Aside from like a little fun, but maybe that's what it is. It's just to give another little some nudge to that logical brain, just to let another level off, you know.
It's really validating. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest
Mm,
power that I experience in any sort of session with anyone, whether it's energy work or astrological work, is just holding a loving presence for
mm-hmm.
someone and
Mm-hmm.
just seeing them for the wonderful, beautiful, talented person that they are. And you know this, you work with people, like this is the essence of everyone, right? Every single person who comes through is just like an amazing, unique, incredible, and wonderful person. And just you holding the space for somebody
Mm-hmm.
in that loving way, I think makes the transformation possible.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about someone coming to me, sure, it might be that we're playing the astrology game, and it's nice to play the astrology game. It's nice to use words. It's nice to talk through it. It's fun. It's playful. It does give insight. And even more importantly than that, you could go to anyone for an astrology reading. You could probably have ChatGPT give you a pretty good astrology reading these days, but it's not going to be the same as somebody holding that sort of loving space for you. So I think that's more and more what it is that we
Mm-hmm.
do is just that being that allows for whatever needs to emerge to come forward.
It's creating that energetic environment. I mean, I joke with my friends, if I could write on my website, look, come and sit with me. We're not going to talk, but stuff's going to happen. Like, I don't know that anyone would believe it, but it's true. And people say to me, like, what was that? I'm like, it's just, like you said, it's not just a loving energy. Um, it's creating this energetic space that they usually with words, we sort of get ourselves higher into the energy, and then there's a resonance, and it's like almost like a click. And then it's like, oh, and you're like, yeah. It's the words really, sometimes words feel very small.
They can. And I think you're right. Once we get into that state of deeper harmony, that's where the good
That's
stuff
it.
starts to really emerge.
Yeah.
Whether it's the left brain, right brain alignment, or the
Hmm.
heart coherence, or so many different ways we have to describe it or experience it. But once you come into that natural state of harmony, then the healing just happens, healing. I know that's not a word you're a big fan of, but again, it expresses I
It's
guess,
a
a linear,
shift.
yeah, a shift, exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's a shift that's happening, and
Yep.
you naturally move into a state of greater wholeness,
Well, that's just it. That's what
harmony.
healing means.
Exactly. That's it. It's holding.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that whole becomes possible. And so being with somebody and seeing them as whole really is deeply transformative. I think
Hmm.
what that's I don't know that they talked about that openly in the coaching class I did many years ago. I think that was actually one of the principles is that people are naturally, resourceful, creative, and whole, and really just holding that belief and being with someone in it is
Hmm.
so powerful.
Hmm.
And it's not an experience that we often get as we
I
move
was,
through the world,
I
right?
was just gonna say, yeah, you don't meet a lot of people who are capable, few things, capable and want to do it and do it well. Like to me,
Yeah.
there's like, yeah, you can be capable of a lot of things, but if you don't want to do it, you know, doesn't matter how many people you work with, nothing's going to happen. So there's that too. Like that holding that kind of energy really is an experience that our logical brain calls like, oh man, that was wild. And so you have to get really used to that. Like I'm sure you are used to that. I'm used to that feeling of like, oh, we're out there. Like we're way
Mhm.
out there. And it doesn't frighten me. It used to, like 30 years ago. But now it's like, yeah, we have no frame of reference right now, but it's good.
Yeah, and again, and our logical brain just wants a task.
Yep.
So I often feel that very much, like it doesn't really matter what we talk about or what, through what auspices we are connecting. The energy is what's really doing the work here.
Yep. 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 Absolutely. Like I said, we could just sit there and and that the only thing is people until they've experienced it, they they don't believe it. They really do
Yeah.
have to have the experience. And then the rest of it sort of, it's like a domino effect. But
Oh,
yeah,
definitely. I
yeah,
completely agree. And, it's like why I wouldn't worry about what we're going to talk about. I just know that whatever, it's the energy, whatever we're going to
yep,
talk about, it's going to have the same energy that we always bring because this is the energy that we bring. It's how we operate. So
yeah.
it's just going to naturally emerge. And we could probably have a podcast called Where Are We Going? Maybe we gave ourselves the
Maybe this is
perfect title,
episode
right?
one.
This is episode one of Where Are We Going? And just showing up and knowing that we don't need to know, that we're just going to be talking about whatever is on our mind or in our awareness. And some of the things that I was saying, I've never said before. It was
Really?
like, oh, I'm getting this new awareness, like as it's coming through.
Mm,
And this is how it fits together. And this is how it works. And that's just happening because we're having a joyful,
mm,
creative, harmonious conversation. So that stuff just gets to show up.
yeah,
I'm not trying to plan in advance what it is.
no. And true planning, well, I find it shaves the edges off. Like it just gets a little bit tight. So yeah, I agree. Just going with the flow, literally, and seeing where we're taken and seeing where we want to go. Where are we going?
Where
Good
are we
idea.
going? It's such a good question. So, what would you say, like, as a
Okay.
collective, maybe as our final question,
Okay.
where are we going?
As a collective, like humanity,
Yeah, where's humanity going?
I I see so much, like we were saying, everybody's whole, everyone's complete, and I see it like that there are clouds that sort of hide this from our awareness. So the way I see it right now is more and more of these clouds are sort of dissipating or, just kind of becoming thinner, and more people are coming to this awareness that there's more than just they're getting out of bed with the alarm clock life. And it's almost, I feel like there are forerunners, people who are really willing to be the pioneers like us, who are out there, like we're out there. And then there are the ones following in our wake. And then there are the ones who will come at their own time. But that's how I feel. It's like we're just coming back to this awareness that was at some time natural and normal on this planet. And it's just going to happen. We don't have to fight it. We don't have to like orchestrate it or in any way try and like claw our way to it. It's just happening. And every time we have conversations like this, every time we write, every time we hold space for people, it's like I feel like it's just like the winds are getting a little faster and the clouds are dissipating more quickly.
I like it. The momentum is building.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
And the
Light,
sky,
more and
yeah,
more and more light.
and the sky's getting more clear. So
Exactly.
that wonderful virtue of clarity is more present.
Hmm. Hmm.
What a wonderful vision. Well, I'll certainly join you in that.
Would you say anything else to add or different?
It feels to me like it is this stepping into the natural freedom to which we are entitled. And I'm really hearing the word birthright, that we
Mhm.
all have a birthright to live our lives as these worthy, whole, loved individuals who
Mhm.
are creating the world. And when I think about where we're going, I also think about moving from this brain centered awareness. Our brains are wonderful, they do so much for us,
Mhm.
into the heart centered awareness.
Mhm.
And that, and I guess even moving from that into the soul centered awareness. So, how we are becoming these bigger versions of ourselves and no longer trying to
That's it.
make one thing in charge. And that's really where being whole comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's in charge. Like we don't know where we're going. There's no path. Now that we can leave you with that one. But that's the game. It's a game, people. Have fun.
It's totally a game. You know, that I just love that reminder. That's been something very much in my awareness for the past few days is just that real felt sense of I came here to play this look at me and I'm human game.
Yep.
And you know, there's this greater awareness that picked this body and is like, oh, like look at all this stuff that's here in this life and in this body. And whoop, like let's move around and enjoy it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So I lit my candle before we started, but I will blow it now. There we go. Well, I think that I certainly had a good time. I hope you did.
I did. It's always a pleasure. And, you know, I look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah. Oh, we'll definitely do this again. Yes.
We will.
Okay.